6 years ago to this day, on October 21st, 2016, the next iteration for the Civilization franchise, Civ 6, was released on the Steam store for PC users, and I have to say, before even doling out any criticism like the standard 4 Extraordinaire videos now of late, I have to say, it has been an absolute blast through Civ 6's 2 expansions, Gathering Storm, Rise and Fall, through the numerous content and leader packs that released. There were like 10 or more of them. And just through all of the different season passes, the game, to their credit, the devs, while I have criticized them a heck of a lot, I have to just give them limitless kudos, it feels like, just because 6 years is an incredible amount of time to give live service to a game like Civ 6, which is so complex with so many different factors in different settings and different scenarios that just go on with the leader balance and whatnot. With 50 plus leaders and so many other civs, map types, what have you, Pangea, continents and islands, and many, many more. Again, can't give a higher praise to the devs like Anton Stringer, like Ed Beach, and if anything, I think the biggest takeaway from this video is that Civ 6 is a fantastic game. However, and this is a big but I do have a bit of criticism for our favorite heroes here, because the pack itself, after looking through the leader abilities, just seemed to be a bit lackluster. The leader abilities so far with the various season passes and individual leader packs do not change too much after release from what I've seen, just a few bug fixes here and there. So unless, barring an official last patch, I really do think the leader abilities here for this last pack have been very paltry. They've been very lackluster. And for a final send-off, I think they could do a lot better. So I want to dig into that, talk about the positives and negatives with the leader pass in general and this individual pack, the Rulers of England. Get a few of my gripes off, but a few of my praises as well, because I don't think this individual pack itself is a big flop, but there are a lot of things that could be rectified to make this a lot better. So our first trade agreement, leader bonus, is Drake's Legacy for Elizabeth I, +2 trade route capacity when England acquires its first Great Admiral, and then trade routes to city-states gain +3 gold for every specialty district at the origin city. Furthermore, +100% yields from plundering trade routes, and this is not just naval vessels, but also land trading units, so keep that in mind when you're using this ability. From a purely mechanical and gameplay perspective, Lizzie's ability, I think, caught my eye the most, because not many abilities interact with Great Admirals, and while it's only your first Great Admiral and +2 trade routes aren't that good, at least it gives some validity to recruiting Great Admirals, at least recruiting your first one, because those harbor points or those Great Admiral points aren't going to get a lot of mileage, and it just makes the ability, or the, incentive towards building those harbors slightly better. Not too impressive. The bigger thing, I think, is the additional gold. +3 is not too bad early game. And then plundering trade routes, while it's not going to be too heavy, the AI doesn't defend their trade routes too well, so I think you can get some worthwhile gains from it. So overall, as a kit, I think Elizabeth would feel very, very original if there was not another Portuguese bastard named João who does all of this better, has more interesting hindrances as he has more stipulations on settling coastal cities and targeting city-states, but his ability is just far more creative, and I want to explain why just very quickly, because this is not going to be a comparison video, more of a flat critique. And Porto do Cerso, brushing off my Portuguese there a little bit, is the leader bonus for João, and alone it grants +1 sight to all units, and like England, this doesn't just apply to naval units like caravels and things of that nature. It also applies to scouts, which gives you an impressive ancient and classical era scouting game for those goody huts, and furthermore, it combines fantastically with his additional ability of meeting another civilization and granting +1 trade route capacity for that. So if you are playing on larger maps, as you tend to do if you're playing on a naval focused map, you are going to have 5 to 6 trade routes if you are building your boats at least early on, and that +1 sight is still going to apply to ships. So not only are you going to be moving incredibly fast, but you're also going to be snapping those city-states, moving through their borders quite easily, and just doing a far better job than England, because furthermore, to capitalize on Portugal's abilities as if they weren't already good enough at trading, you get +50% bonuses from all yields from Portugal's ability. While Portugal does kneecap you a bit with Casa da India, forcing you to basically settle cities on the coast or perish, you gain +50% yields to all international trade routes, which is incredible, and domestic trade routes if you are trading with your own cities. And then traders have +50% range over water, and they can embark as soon as they are unlocked. So while Portugal is hyper-focused on naval trading, they do it extremely well. Maybe England is a bit better, to be fair, with production and their harbor district, which is very, very good, their royal dockyard. Still, Portugal is incredibly focused and very, very impressive when it comes to its naval trading games, and that +3 gold, while it is good initially, there can be a case to be made for like an early domination rush if you just want to cloud the ocean with your ships and do something crazy like that. When you have larger maps and when you are, again, doing a naval run, I think Portugal just beats Lizzie out fair and square, and there's just not really anything she can do once she runs out of her Great Admiral bonuses and once she starts to wear thin on that gold bonus. Of course, that's not even factoring in the Victoria that comes with the now and the navigation school, which makes coastal yields flat out bonkers when it comes to science. So all of that said, I just do not like England. I mean, it could be good with Rise and Fall or Gathering Storm, but with all of the advancements we've had lately with some of the leaders in the New Frontier Pass, it's not too impressive, I have to say. I like what they do with the Great Admiral points, but aside from that, there is just not too much to give poor Lizzie to make her, I think, relevant and up to snuff, so to say. Next on the chopping block is Victoria with her unique Age of Steam persona, and it's very, very simple in contrast to what we had with Elizabeth I. Plus 10% production in cities for each industrial zone building in that city, and then +2 production to all strategic resources. I like the latter half of this ability because it encourages you to have more strategic output, but when it comes to that initial production, I think it's lazy for a few reasons, and I want to briefly explain why. Plus 30% production to all industrial zone buildings if you manage to plop them down and play your cards right is absolutely balls to the walls insane. 30% production for all cities. I mean, you just have to plop an industrial zone down. There's not specific requirements for it like a dam or a canal. And even then, if there were, it'd still be absolutely nuts. Just because you get a further +2 production to strategic resources, and unless you get a very, very crappy start where you're stuck on like some absolutely undesirable island in the middle of nowhere, you're always going to be reaping at least 5 or 6 strategic resources just because of how the game loads them in. So barring any unlucky starts, it just does not make sense, I think, on that part to give her such a basic and lackluster ability in that regard. And then furthermore, Cleopatra, someone who was introduced 1 to 2 packs ago, already has a bonus towards improving resources. So I don't know why the hell the devs thought it would be a good idea to say, oh hey, they're not going to know that we included the exact same ability with a few minor tweaks 2 passes back, are they? And I think we definitely do for Axis, but I will cut them some slack since this is free for most Civ players, I assume, who have bought all of the DLCs. But even with that standing and all things being said, I just find it hard to find this excusable just because of how basic an ability it is and how mind-bogglingly broken it is. I just don't know where the devs thought they would get with this idea, but it certainly isn't anywhere productive despite the bonuses that it provides. Also, Victoria's base ability is more interesting, even if it is basic and less powerful. I like more flavorful bonuses aside from just flat-out broken ones. If they're flavorful and broken like Ludwig, then all the more power to the player since this is not a competitive MMO. But still, and it's funny because on the stream, the devs did this a lot, probably not knowing that Victoria in base game has a way better time doing this, but they seem to really emphasize on just settling other cities across the continents and gathering all those strategic resources like it was a Pokemon game. But base Victoria just does that better. She has bonuses towards invading and setting up colonies, and I think her bonuses are just much more thematic, despite being released like 6 years ago with the base game Vanilla Civ. And this is just not it for me. I'm not feeling it. I don't know if anyone else in the comment section will disagree with me, but watch as the orange cog accompanied with its funny number slowly ticks up to satisfy our pattern recognizing monkey brains. To play devil's advocate, as I tend to do, some of the users on the Civ subreddit seem to believe, or at least are heavily inclined to thinking, that the game itself is a yield simulator, and to be fair, it does have that aspect at times, but for me, it does not tickle my fancy, so to say. So for that reason, I am out on Victoria, at least outside of a few fuck you runs for the publicity. Last but not least, we have Harald in his Varangian persona, and to his credit, for 1066 he has some incredible drip, but his ability is Varangian Guard, and that is levying city-state units cost 75% less gold. Killing a unit with a levied unit grants faith, culture, and science equal to 50% of the defeated unit's combat strength. I was pleasantly surprised by this ability in that it is very, very good at not only making sure that you kill people, but that you make friends along the way as you do so. Unfortunately, and there is another big but like with Lizzie, there is another character in the game who was introduced in Gathering Storm. His name is Matthias, and he also levies units, and he seems to do not only a better job at having unique units, which none of the leaders in the leader pass have had, nor unique buildings, nor unique districts, but he also has a very, very good levying bonus, and Harald is kind of given a run for his money, I think, when it comes to that. Our Hungarian backstreet boy gives +2 movement to levied city-state units and +5 combat strength, along with allowing those units to be upgraded for a 75% discount to gold and resources. Levying units or troops from a city-state grants +2 envoys with that city-state, and you also gain the Black Army unique unit with castles, which is a very, very solid unit. I think it's great at the era that it is unlocked in. And Hungary, I think, is kind of at an impasse with Norway. Harald, for complete transparency, is very, very solid. I think he might even be better than Victoria if you get a good start, if you have a very good cash flow from the beginning, because once you get running and once you have your murder hobo army on the ready to rampage and just completely sack any and all nearby tribal villages and then soon to be former empires, I think he will be incredible. I know if I see him in any multiplayer games, I will be either banning him or trying to kill him with the nearest neighbors that I have, because that is an absolutely frightening ability. I think Matthias's biggest weakness is that his levying units can be a bit expensive in the long run if you continue to do that. And while discounts for upgrading units is very good for strategic resources too, Harald just is more well-rounded. He is very good at generating culture and science if you get, again, a good flow going with your units and your military. So for that, I think he is very solid. But my criticism, again, is that it's just another repetition of an ability we've already seen with a few hot fixes here and there. So because of that, I have to say, again, no to Harald's ability. I think it's too repetitive, and there could have been a better take that they could have gone, either focusing more on Viking longships and naval combat, or something that makes it slightly more unique, I think, like Lizzie's Great Admiral relevancy and how her ability functions around that with trade routes. But I'm going to end my reign of hot takes here before someone finally gets fed up and whacks me for my disagreeable opinions. If you like this video and if you'd like to see more Civ 6 commentary, please let me know by leaving a like and commenting down in the description below. Just with some general feedback and criticism for the video. I always appreciate that, and I'm always trying to improve my editing ability and skills. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with me all these years, and I hope you guys have a great time in the build up to Civ 7. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I hope to see you guys later. All right, peace.